Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Repeat Ron, and today we're going to be doing another tier list. Since the new patch just went live, the Halloween patch of 2021 for Killing Floor 2, we have some new weapons that I've been testing for the last couple weeks since we got the beta early, and the Tommy Boom has been added for demo, so that's why we're doing demo today. We will also be doing Berserker since they got the Piranha Pistol, Medic because they got the Corruptor Carbine, as well as Sharpshooter for the same reason, and Gunslinger because I got the Piranha Pistol and the HRG Disruptor. As well as I'll probably do SWAT again because I don't think I did the Bastion when it came out, so I should probably cover that weapon too. So first up, we've got our starting gear where we have the 9mm pistol, the grenade pistol, the knife, and the half stick of dynamite. Now, the 9mm pistol is what you're going to use once you run out of ammo with your weapons. You're probably not going to use it for any other reason. It is really nice in the early waves because demo can run out of ammo pretty easily. So it's still going to be D tier because you don't get any bonuses with it. You're probably not going to go with dual 9mm with demo, although you could, and it would probably be okay. I don't know why I say probably. I have done it before, and it's okay, just like it's okay with pretty much every other class, but not a standout. So D tier. The knife is also down into D tier because it's going to be what you use when you're just out of everything, and you just have to use the knife, so that's why it's here. The grenade pistol, on the other hand, is really good, especially for a tier 1 weapon. If you upgrade this thing, it scales incredibly high with upgrades. You can't blow yourself up with it, which is a huge bonus, and it's all around just a fantastic weapon. I think at max weight, it does actually get kind of heavy at, I think, 8 or 9. It is kind of a hefty gun then, but even just throwing an upgrade into it or two, really solid weapon. I would probably put this one either B or A tier, because it's quite good, and I do like using it, and I do hang on to it for quite a while. I think I'll put it at the top end of B tier right now. It's like B plus, A minus, somewhere in here. So it could go either way for me. I really enjoy it. Then we got the half stick of dynamite, which is quite a good grenade. It's not the best grenade in the game, but it's pretty good. It does really high damage. It does have a long fuse if you don't hit something directly with it, which is kind of annoying. Although if you do hit something directly with it, you will deal a lot of damage to them. It has a big explosion radius, which is a good and bad thing, because I have seen demos blow themselves up just by throwing dynamite at point blank into like flesh pounds faces. It also has a really high stun chance. All around really good. I'd put this one into B tier too. Then we move on to our tier 2 weapons where we have C4. You can blow up quarter pounds and flesh pounds pretty easily with it. You can use it on boss wave. It works fantastic as an off perk weapon. I use it fairly often on demo, and I enjoy it. It's definitely better once you level up more, though, so you get more of them. Without that, it's not as good. Still pretty solid, especially for, like, 3 weight, so I'd put this one into B tier. Maybe I'd put it, it's, like, on par with the grenade pistol. It's, like, A or B tier for me. Then we've got the M79 grenade launcher, I believe. This is the single-shot grenade launcher. This one's pretty good, too. This one has a big explosion radius. It does pretty decent damage. You can injure yourself real easy with this weapon, though, too, especially if you're going with the larger explosion radius perk at level 15, then it's pretty much always going to be taking chip damage out of you, which is really annoying, and I don't usually run it with that unless I'm just really trying to lob these. Like, you can make it work on some maps, like Nuked or something, where you just have really long lines of sight and you want to just lob grenades after enemies. It's pretty good then. On other maps, it's okay. I've never really been a huge fan of this weapon because it does have an arming distance, so you have to get a certain distance away before the grenade will actually go off. That's a little bit annoying. It doesn't work incredibly great against things like flesh pounds and scrakes. It's not terrible against flesh pounds at all, but it's not the best weapon. You do get some value out of it, though. I'd probably put this one into, like, the high end of C tier. Then we've got the Tommy Boom, the new demo weapon. This is a tier 2 weapon. This costs $650, I believe. This weighs 7. That's kind of an issue when you're trying to pair it with other weapons. You can't pair it with the rocket launcher, which is unfortunate. You can pair it with most of your other weapons, though. And it has been increased in both base damage as well as its upgrades. So now it actually gets 20% more damage with each upgrade, which is a big improvement over what it was. It was 15%, and that just wasn't really cutting it. 20% does feel better. I still wouldn't recommend upgrading this thing all the way, though. At 10 weight, it's just not that great. You're probably going to pair it with either the grenade pistol or C4. If you pair it with the grenade pistol, you could probably just upgrade the grenade pistol and have a better weapon then. With C4, it can work, and if you don't upgrade it, then I usually pair it with something like the Kaboom Stick, which is great. This weapon still doesn't hit super hard though. It's pretty weak. This is really good for triggering Destroyer of Worlds though, because you can trigger it the best with this weapon, or at least the quickest. And so long as this isn't your primary weapon and it's your secondary weapon, it's alright. I'd put this one into C tier as well. I don't think it's quite D tier. I would use this sometimes, and it's good to take early on, but I don't know. It's like low C tier to like high D tier for me. Then we've got the Pulverizer. The Pulverizer is definitely D tier. This thing just isn't great on demo. You have to get close up, which is bad because demo is not very tanky. They don't get any bonus movement speed or tankiness whatsoever. So you have to get close, which is bad. It can do really high damage if you do hit something with it. And it's really good if you know that you have like the King Flesh Pound coming up and you want to use it, because melee weapons are really strong against him because you can just keep blocking and parrying his attacks and then just duck underneath his laser. So it's really good in that one specific circumstance, or if you're fighting like one Flesh Pound, just one-on-one, which is likely never going to happen. You also don't get any real attack speed bonus with this, so it's pretty much just the heavy attack you're using. Its light attacks swing way too slow for you, and they also have the unfortunate effect of potentially just knocking down Zeds rather than actually killing them when you otherwise should have killed them, either with a body or a headshot. So definitely D tier. It's one of Demo's weakest weapons at the moment. Then we got the Kaboom Stick, and the Kaboom Stick's going right up into S tier. This thing's insane. It does really high damage. It only weighs 6, so you can pair it with any of your other weapons. Its secondary fire fires out both barrels, which do an insane amount, or even more of an insane amount of damage, and you also get to get bonus mobility because of that. If you jump in the air and fire both barrels, it will send you backwards or upward, depending on which way you fired the shotgun. So you can easily get away from enemies that way, and it completely destroys like Skrakes, Flesh Pounds, bosses, anything. Even if you don't kill something right away like a Skrake with this, you almost have a 100% chance of just stumbling it, so it can't immediately come and get you. And if you're jumping, then so long as you got distance to move backwards, it's never going to be able to catch up to you, and you're going to be able to kill it. And then we got the Seal Squeal, which the Seal Squeal is probably my favorite weapon, just in general. It's super fun. It does really high damage. It has good range once you get used to the projectile drop-off, and it's really good at triggering Destroyer of Worlds. You usually get enough harpoons to make it work on most boards. I like pairing it with the Kaboom Stick. I like pairing pretty much everything with the Kaboom Stick, but this one of my favorite weapons. I'd still probably put it into A tier, because at 7 weight, it does make it a little bit awkward to pair with other things. Usually when I do take it, I just upgrade it to the 9 weight and keep the Kaboom Stick at the 6 weight. And that works just fine for me. Then we've got the M16. The M16 is honestly just kind of okay with demo. It's kind of surprising to me, because whenever I've used the M16 with demo, it's worked out okay. And statistically, it seems like it would be worse than a lot of other weapons, but it does enough damage with all of its stuff that it's good enough. It has a high rate of fire. It has great iron sights, practically no recoil. It has enough damage to one-shot, headshot any of the small Zeds, and the grenade launcher on it scales really well with upgrades. There's actually not really a whole lot wrong with the M16, which is probably why I'd put it in like the middle of B tier, because even though, like I said, on paper it seems like it should be worse, it should be like down in C tier, in actual like gameplay it's probably like B tier. I've never really had a problem with it. Then we have the Blunderbuss. The Blunderbuss is probably A tier. This one does pretty high damage. It does take some getting used to, because its primary fire fires out cannonballs. Once you fire the cannonball, it will hit into something, and if you hold down the trigger or the mouse click, whatever it is, it'll hit and then stop pretty much, or roll, and then you can release it to have the cannonball actually explode, which is a unique mechanic just to this weapon. It has a really high stumble chance with that cannonball, and it does pretty high damage, as well as it has a pretty big explosion radius with the cannonball. The secondary fire on it fires like a shotgun, which is great for close range, and it does high damage as well as it scales well. Next we have the Seeker 6, which the Seeker 6 is pretty decent. The main problem is just there's not a whole lot of maps you can use the Seeker 6 on that well. It mostly benefits from very long range, because then you can use its auto-locking capabilities, and you can be guaranteed to hit Zeds, and if you're hitting small Zeds in the body, it will one-shot them. If you hit larger Zeds, you can also kill them very quick with the Seeker 6, but like I said, at range, this does have an arming distance, which is kind of annoying. I kind of wish it didn't have that. It also has a fairly small explosion radius, So on each of those detonations, you're likely not going to be killing more than one Zed with it. If there was more maps that you could use the Seeker 6 on that were longer lines of sight or more open, then it would be really good. But since there's not that many, it's honestly just kind of okay. And I'd put this one into C tier. Then we got the RPG. The RPG is also easy S tier. Does really high damage. You can one-shot Scrakes and Flesh Pounds. You do have to hit headshots, and the rocket does need to explode, and you also need to be going with all left-hand perks. But if you are doing all that, then you can one-shot pretty much everything with the RPG. You can even one-shot bosses if you're playing like Endless Mode solo. It's kind of funny when you hit Hans with this, just like as soon as Wave 5 shows up on Hell on Earth and you one-shot him. It does pretty much the job that you want to do, which is deal high damage to big targets like Flesh Pounds and Scrakes. This does benefit from accuracy, so getting used to firing it does actually help quite a bit because its projectile speed is a little bit slow. It also has a unique feature on it where you can kind of gain some benefit from it, but it will likely be indirectly. Or you'll be unaware of it, which is that it does have a backblast on it. So when you fire out the initial rocket, it will do the damage where the rocket hits, both with the shell damage and with the explosion damage. And then it will also do a backblast behind the rocket launcher, which will deal actually pretty high damage to everything right behind you. It's not as much as the rocket launcher rocket itself, obviously, but it is enough to kill any sort of small Zeds near you, which it's kind of funny for that. Then we got the Husk Cannon. The Husk Cannon's pretty good. The Husk Cannon, you can shoot pretty fast. It does good enough damage with its spam fire to kill small Zeds. The fire effect can cause Zeds to freak out, which is kind of nice, and its charged attack does pretty well. I'd probably put this one on the low end A tier. The M79 grenade launcher, this is the rotary one that holds 6 shots. This one is pretty underwhelming in my opinion. It has the same baseline stats as the M79, but weighs much more, costs much more, and takes forever to reload. You do, at least for me, I need to have the reload perk active when I'm using this thing, because otherwise it's just too slow to be using. Really, the only goal that it has is to kill swarms of small Zeds, which shouldn't be like the main thing that you're doing with demo. Kind of. You're probably going to be doing it with any of your other weapons, but this one specializes with it, and that's kind of an issue. Because if all of your other weapons can already do that, then why have a weapon specialized for it? So I rarely take this thing. It is kind of fun to play around with, I will admit that, and it's really good to trigger Destroyer of Worlds. It's probably one of the better ones. Probably not as good as like the Tommy Boom, the Husk Cannon, or the Seal Squeal, but probably still pretty good. I'd put this one on the low end of C tier because it's kind of meh to me. And then last up, we got the Gravity Imploder, which the Gravity Imploder is a pretty solid weapon. With its primary fire, I don't think you can hurt yourself, or if you can, it's very low damage that you can do. This grabs all enemies, deals damage to them, sucks them in. It can kill small enemies very easily. It's great against hordes. And with its secondary fire, it fires out a black ball, more or less, that sucks all enemies in. Doesn't really do any damage, but it will stun them. And the ball itself has a really high stun and stumble chance, so if you hit anything directly with it, it'll likely stun it, and you can just keep using the primary fire to kill whatever you hit. It does well at pretty much everything. I don't really have anything bad to say about the Gravity Imploder, and I'd probably put it high up into B tier as well. So I think this is where I would place all of the weapons right now for demo. None of the other ones have been changed currently. Special thanks to all my supporters over here on YouTube, as well as my patrons over on Patreon. If you would like to be a part of that, there is links down in the description where you can go off and do that, and you get early access to videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and if you'd like to see more of my Killing Floor stuff, click over somewhere around here. There should be links to videos somewhere, and I'll see you next time. Bye!